Hey everyone, this is Nick Lane.
And this is Jo Lane.
And we're excited to be part of Humans of Telecom.
Hey everyone, a very warm welcome to Humans of Telecom, the Unplugged podcast. This is your host Anurag Aggarwal, Chief Growth Officer at Globe Teleservices. As you all know, this podcast takes you behind the scenes of the fast-paced world of telecom and showcases the human side of some of the most well-known individuals within this industry. Well, talking about well-known, our guests today are quite a dichotomy, if I may say so myself. While they are both individually very well-known within the industry, few know that they are actually the better halves of each other. So much so that I strongly suspect that this couple has purposely and quite ingeniously concealed this fact, making innocent industry colleagues such as myself face embarrassing moments when we are suddenly made aware about this tiny detail. Both these individuals have been very active in the consulting space, media, marketing, and whatnot, and have together been managing one of the most successful insights organization within the telecom and CPaaS space for over a decade now. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming our special couple feature from Mobilesquared today, Nick Lane, Founder and Chief Messaging Officer, and Jo Lane, Client Services and Communications Director. Nick and Jo, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of this journey. We'd love to hear more about you. Which part of the world do you belong to, and from where are you joining this podcast today?
Hi Anurag, thank you. It's great to be here. It's our little secret that we've kind of revealed today.
This podcast is actually primarily being aired just to reveal this out to the world so that, nobody else gets trapped in the same faux pas which I did at one point of time.
But as long as you didn't crack on to Jo, that's fine. So we're based just outside Reading. So we live in a small market town called Wokingham, and Mobilesquared HQ's there as well. So it's about a 5-10 minute walk between our home and the office.
Yep. So speaking personally, I'm from Wokingham, but we both lived in London and ran Mobilesquared from London for some time, and we moved back here, and we love the lifestyle of being able to walk to the office and sort of run our business from this beautiful part of the world.
Wonderful. And Nick and Jo, what has your story been like? I mean, you both are quite popular within the industry. And Nick especially, he's literally the face of the industry when it comes to insights about where the industry has been and where the industry is growing. I mean, right throughout my career within CPaaS, I've been living on all the insights which Nick keeps sharing about whether RCS is going to die or whether RCS is going to be the next king of the world. So I keep hearing so much that you guys are doing. How did you both end up in the world of telecom? And more importantly, was telecom instrumental in getting you two together?
Well, technically, telecom was instrumental because we used to call each other quite a lot. But before that, we've been together for over 30 years. So, we were together for a long time before I got my first job in telecoms. And that was as a reporter on a telecoms pricing magazine, very snappy, only to find on my first day that the editor had quit and I was made editor within 1 minute of starting my job. And that was my introduction into the world of telecoms, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah, and whilst Nick was building up the business, I was actually working in ad agencies. I worked in quite a few of the larger ad agencies. And so my skill set sort of very much lay in sort of marketing and client support. And as we as Nick developed business more, we realised that that's the kind of area that we were short in and we were looking to recruit. And then I thought, why don't I join the business? So I have to say it was totally unplanned on my part. It was not something we set out to do originally, but it's been brilliant. We've been working together for about 15 years now. So we must be doing something right.
Wonderful. And how has the journey been at Mobilesquared? As you said, it's been about 15 years now. That I know that Nick started this around 2008. So yes, it's been 15 years now. So how has that journey been for both of you? And today at Mobilesquared, do you both complement each other in the research activities, or how do you share responsibilities amongst the two of you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we both agree it's definitely been a journey, but we've had so many ups, and a few downs around the pandemic time. But it's really buoyant, and it's a really forward-looking industry, and that's great. And in terms of how we complement each other, I think we would both say that and both agree that Nick's very much a big picture thinker. A real kind of a big ideas person, which you'll know from looking at the content that we put out. So that's ideal for kind of forward looking and spotting trends and forecasts. Whereas I really enjoy kind of looking at the background, the executional side of things. So looking at the direction our business is going in. So yeah, I think we're naturally a pretty good fit together. Not to say that we don't frequently clash on things, because we definitely do.
Yeah, what she said. We do complement each other. I mean, it's not easy, so obviously we live together and we work together. So, I guess there are some times when you kind of realise that there's a kind of work mode and a home life mode, and sometimes they do cross. And, it does make things difficult. But on the whole, I think most people are amazed that we're still together. Both in a working and a kind of married capability, because when you talk to friends and they say, "Oh, I struggle to just live with my other half, let alone work with them." So yeah, but I mean, I think that's also it's key why we have the office. So we have got that separation from home, and that makes quite a big difference. Because otherwise, I think if we just worked at home, lived at home, and did everything from home, I'd go mad. I think Joe would get mad. Because I need to have somewhere to be banished to every now and then. So
yeah, and we can't have our chief insight officer actually getting mad because we quite depend on his numbers. So we don't want them going haywire. So
exactly, yes, then.
So wonderful. And in this journey of yours between the two of you, has there been one memorable or impactful moment? It could be a shared moment or one individually for each of you. Would you both have any such moments to share with us?
Really good question. Really good question. I think the fact that we work together is quite special in itself because, as Joe said, it's not always easy, but I think we always come out better and rosier regardless of what happens. So I think, as a couple, as a working couple, we're really strong together anyway. But I think in terms of memorable things, I think we're kind of building towards that now, if I'm honest, because initially when I started Mobilesquared, it was a lifestyle thing so that I could be around more when the kids were very young and growing up. And, that was certainly one of the big benefits from doing it. But now we're trying to turn it into a proper business over the last couple of years. And we're getting there and we're making some giant strides and we're working towards a common goal now. And I think when we achieve that common goal, that is when we've achieved our success. So I think, but with the fact that we're doing it together is, it's really, that in itself is pretty memorable, to be honest.
Yeah. And we're quite good at celebrating our wins. We both are very sociable people. We love talking to people. Nick gets to do that a bit more than I do because of his, he is the face of Mobilesquared and he presents at events and sees people. But, we love to get out there and, we're kind of, as Nick said, we can't sort of say too much at this stage what we're doing. But I think, from what we put out in the public domain, we've really changed our business. We're transforming into more of a data business, and that's required some investment for us. And that's been huge for us in the last couple of years. And, we're not there yet. We're sort of on iteration 2 or 3. But what's coming in the next few months is kind of our big leap. So that's really exciting. And then just a quick one for me. I think a really memorable moment in what we've been doing. A few years ago, we did a series of amazing events, which I personally loved, roadshow events around the world. So we were, the brief kind of was to do something different, hold customer events, but hold them in really exciting and unusual places. So we did events at the Singapore Art Museum, at the World Trade Center in New York, and at Phonopolis in London, and a couple of others. And it was just a really great opportunity to go and spend some time in sort of fantastic locations around the world. So that was a standout for me.
They were good events.
And it's funny actually because, I love the fact that this is called Humans of Telecom, because what we wanted to do with that, and I think probably with a lot of projects that we do and events that we do, is just kind of humanize them a bit more. So we purposely didn't choose kind of, soulless conference venues. We chose somewhere that kind of had a bit of a story. And I think that's kind of what we're about.
Our one in New York up the World Trade Center was about the 60th floor, I think. And obviously we've got a load of people from Manhattan to come along, and, people from across North America and beyond. And they were amazed at the view. And it was so impressive. We did it a second year there. The second year, though, it was cloudy and you couldn't see a thing. Yeah. So we paid a massive premium just to see the inside of a cloud.
Interesting. I think these are some interesting stories. And you're quite right that, you have transformed your business over the years. And today you've literally formed what you call the message verse. So I think you guys are doing some amazing stuff in our industry. And I do wish you all the best to continue on that. And on that note, moving more from the telecom side now to the human side of the two of you. So while I've already shared something shocking, that the two of you are married, which many of us didn't know, but if I still ask that, tell us something else which is shocking that nobody knows about Nick and Joe, what would that be?
I don't think there is anything shocking that you could reveal about me, to be honest.
You've revealed all our secrets. Well, I guess another kind of big thing in our lives was that pre-starting Mobilesquared, we had a bit of a life change and sold our flat in London and sold up everything and disappeared off around the world for 6 months. I can't really say backpacking because neither of us are backpacking sort of people, but we just had a 6-month sabbatical.
Well, it started out, Joe, with her backpack, but it worked out that I had my backpack on my back. I had Joe's backpack on my front, and with all the shoes that she bought, we had an additional backpack that I carried full of shoes. So it was actually quite good fitness for me for 6 months. But that was quite life-changing. I think that's also opened up our views on kind of how we approach things as well. So we're trying kind of quite open-minded, and I think we're trying to apply that when we do things with Mobilesquared, which is also, I guess, how we ended up with something like the message verse, which I think we're quite proud of as a phrase, because we think you kind of, okay, admittedly, it's a play on the word of metaverse, but I think in terms of, from where we're coming from and where we're going, it encapsulates exactly what we're trying to do. So, yes, I think that was quite, again, coming back to the previous section, quite a proud moment.
Yeah, and actually, sort of talking through these notes, Anurag, it's kind of obvious that we're both risk takers to some extent. I mean, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world to be running a business, especially over the past few years. But we know what we're doing, and we've been growing steadily, and so I think these things have shaped us and sort of shaped the way that we view our business.
Wonderful. All right, and while you guys have even shared so many interests of yours of traveling and spending time with each other, both at work and off work, but over and above all of these, if I ask that, is there something else that you both do to recharge as a couple, or some passion, some shared interest that you have? Would you have any to share with our audience?
I'll just go into a dark room. Just escape.
I think, to be honest, as we live and work together, we do need our own separate passions. We do need a little bit of time apart to keep things healthy. I'm really into interior design and have been for a long time, and I'm actually studying for a degree in interior design at the moment. I'm in the 3-year degree, so that's just something that I've been developing for myself.
Which is also costing the company a lot of money, because we have to now have new interiors in the office. But it does look a lot better. So
Well, the money comes within the house, so I think it's okay. I think that works well.
The only thing is, Joe's not too keen on my Star Wars collection. So I love collecting the vintage 70s and 80s Star Wars figures and ships. So there's quite a lot in the office, some of which are hidden. So whenever we do a webinar, you'll see a message verse kind of poster sitting behind me, and that's there because I've been told by Joe and Hugh to put it there because I shouldn't be showing all of my Star Wars figures. So that's why that's there. There you go, another revelation.
Sometimes he'll sneak a stormtrooper over the top, but most of the time they do stay hidden.
So they try to escape.
Yeah.
So I love golf. So that's my main passion outside of work. So I try and play as much golf as I can, which isn't that much this year because obviously we're changing our data a lot and going to new levels of granularity on all channels. So that's taken up a lot of my time. But yeah, when I can, it's golf. And I'm also a trained sitcom writer, which I qualified for about 20 years ago and yet to write my sitcom. So you never know. There could be a Telecom sitcom waiting to be written.
Interesting. These are some very unknown facts about you guys. And I think, Nick, now I'm going to watch out for the next webinar and try and see if there is one of the Star Wars troopers who's trying to take a sneak peek into the camera.
Okay, you tell me which figure you'd like to see, and I'll make it happen. I'll have a little string hidden, so all of a sudden he'll appear, or she.
That is a whole different type of messaging.
All right. So, guys, we now move into our next section where we play two games with our guests. And I'm hoping with the two of you together, it's even more interesting. So, the first one is that I'm going to put up 5 words to you. And for each of those words, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. So, are you ready for that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Okay. So, the first one is Telecom.
Mobilesquared.
Oh, messaging.
All right. And maybe Mobilesquared is messaging for us today, right? So it's all interlinked.
Now you know why we work together.
Absolutely. The next one is research.
I'll go data.
Nightmare. There's too much of it.
Yep. I can totally agree. Okay. The third one is family.
Oh, home for me.
I'm still thinking nightmare, but I think that's right.
We do have 2 teenagers. I'll qualify that.
You're lovely. Should they ever hear this?
Wonderful as they are.
Awesome. Okay. The fourth one is career.
Oh.
That's
actually a tough one.
Beginning.
Oh. I'm going to say together. That is genuinely the first thing that pops into my head.
Again, it leads back to what we were saying earlier about what we're trying to achieve. So, we're kind of a couple of rungs up, but there's still quite a long way to go. So, yeah, okay. I'm going to say drive.
Yeah, I
think we are really driven towards that.
I might change mine to ambition. There we go.
Interesting. So we have a couple which keeps helping each other out with a better version of themselves. Awesome.
Oh, that's a great summary.
Can you do up here?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you guys can offer me a good cut from all that you make because there are so many companies who lap up your data and are part of the messageverse. So I'm sure that there is scope for us to further try and work something out. So yeah, let's see. I would love to be involved in the messageverse and Mobilesquared as much as possible.
I'll send you a stormtrooper.
That's actually making it much more worth the while.
To be fair, the price of some stormtroopers is that'd be very well paid. Anyway.
Awesome. All right. And our final word where we are today, podcast.
Got to be Anurag, isn't it? You the man.
Well, I'm just entering into this space, actually. It's been only about 6 months. And you have seen, Nick, incidentally, when I was researching about podcast, I remember that you featured on the show where there are these 2 individuals, I think a CEO and there's this girl from that organization, and they talk about telecom from two generations and how they both approach the same topic. And I remember you were, I think, amongst their first guest. So, a lot of my podcast inspiration came from that episode also. So I'll say podcast even means you guys.
Oh, that's great. So my word would be revealing.
Yeah, and I think hopefully through this podcast, there are a lot of revelations which have come about. So, yep, I totally agree with you on that, Joe. All right. And now the next game, which I'm hoping would be even more fun. So I'm going to ask the two of you to share 3 statements with us. 2 of them have to be truths, and 1 of them has to be a lie. And I'll try my level best to guess which one of them is a lie. And given all that I've already heard, there are so many fascinating things. So I'm hoping it's going to be a very tough job for me. So over to you.
Okay. Having thought hard about this, so statement number 1 would be our first flat together was in Camden Town in London, and it was directly above the famous Underworld goth nightclub.
Okay.
The second statement is that our son George, his middle name is Henry, which is named after my love of Arsenal and the legend that is Thierry Henry.
All right.
And the third statement is that we persuaded 80s DJ and all-round icon Pat Sharp to appear at the after party for one of our events.
Interesting. So all 3 of them, as expected, are very interesting ones. It's going to be a very tough one for me. I'm going to take a shot out here and say that the one on football is the one which is a lie. And the first and the third one are truths. So am I right out here?
You are wrong.
I thought as much.
My son is named Henry after my love of Thierry Henry, legend. So the one that's actually the lie was that Pat Sharp attended one of our events. He didn't, although he did link in with me as I was trying to get him to come along. So he linked in with me for a while. I've since been discarded as a LinkedIn connection with him. So that one is a lie.
Well, you never know. Still, there is scope and there is a possibility of an appearance. So, yeah, we'll hope to see that. And how has that experience been of living above the Underworld nightclub, as you were mentioning? How has that experience been?
Yeah, it was.
Can we talk about the neighbour?
I tell you what, it was an intense experience of London. We had we were living next to some very colourful people. And
let's just say our neighbour worked during the night. We could often hear her working, and sometimes her clients would ring our buzzer instead of hers.
That would be some interesting conversations.
You definitely see all sorts in Camden. But yeah, great life experience and eye-opener.
I can imagine. I once got a chance to walk around Camden Street, and it was quite an interesting place to be in. And I think your experiences make it even more fascinating. So to all our listeners, if anybody wants to know, what was Nick's reaction when somebody pressed the bell, and how did that conversation go about, both with the guest and later between Nick and Joe? You're welcome to reach out to them and have a chat.
Well, I saw it as a money-making opportunity, but Joe...
I left him to it.
I hope the seed money for Mobilesquared didn't come from some of those times.
Yeah, I think we've digressed now.
All right. So on that note, we come to our final section. I mean, I think both, as in all 3 of us, and I'm sure all our listeners are having such a whale of a time listening to this wonderful conversation. But sadly, we are on to a sign-off section. So 2 final questions here. Firstly, between Nick and Joe, and especially Nick, we still see a lot of you. But Joe, do you ever plan to be making an appearance in some of our events as well? And if so, where can we see the both of you together possibly?
So I'll be speaking at RCS World next month in Paris. We've got a really different take and different view on RCS that we'll be sharing. So quite looking forward to that. Also be World Telemedia event in Marbella, where you've also got the SMS Forum conference running as well at the same time. So I'll be there. And then beyond that, I don't know, because at the moment we're just trying to get through the workload, which is ever increasing with more and more client projects coming in, which is great, which I'm certainly not complaining about. But beyond that, as a couple, we have started talking about couple trips, because also now that the kids are older, it's a lot easier for us to kind of go off and do work things. So you never know, maybe Barcelona.
Yeah, I think we're kind of targeting Barcelona next year to make it there together at the same time. I mean, we have been able to do quite a bit of that in the past, but yeah, it's kind of something that we're really keen to do. I mean, I will say one thing that we are going to be doing probably towards Christmas is some industry networking drinks. So we'll both be hosting that, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of get that out in the industry quite soon and start talking about it. And so, yeah, face to face is always great, and I will be there, and I'll be talking to as many people as I possibly can.
Wonderful, Joe. And our final question, what we call our signature question: what does being human mean to you? What sort of a human being would you want the world to remember you as?
Oh, that's a really big question. I personally feel as I get older and, life gets more hectic, I think the things that are important to you kind of become clearer, and actually what I really want is for people to think that I guess that, family and friends think that I've made a difference in their life. Just to kind of be something good in someone's life, I think is the key thing. I think in terms of our business, we're both very ambitious about it. And, we're both quite aggressively ambitious about what we're doing. But yeah, on a personal level, I think just to have made people happy is really what I'm interested in.
I think from my side, I guess I would try and split out the work and the life. Not that I do have much of a work-life balance, to be honest. But if we can do that, I think on the life side, I think it's us being happy, making sure that, we have surrounded by lots of great friends, which we are. We're really lucky, very sociable. But I think that we also, I'd like to think together we bring up two wonderful kids, and that's our contribution to the world. And yeah, so I think that's probably my main side on the life side. On the work side, be a billionaire by next week. I think on the work side, I think from an industry perspective, make a difference. And I think we're starting to, we've done that to a certain extent, and we're starting to do it in the way that we look at the data, we do our insight, and how we then deliver that to the industry. So for example, looking at all the fraud, there are different ways of looking at it rather than just from an operator and an enterprise perspective by putting the consumer bit in there. We're trying to put a bit more perspective on things. So I think, from the work side, it's trying to make a difference to the industry and help the industry grow.
I guess, again, this is really interesting, Anurag, because it's kind of making us kind of think and reflect. But the thing that's coming through for me is that as a business, and hopefully as people, you would hope that you would be memorable and do some kind of good. And so that's, I think, probably the two things that are in my head if I was asked to kind of define how we want to be thought about.
Wonderful, Joe. And I think that's a fantastic thought to conclude our conversation on. And I must say, it's been a very, very interesting conversation with the two of you. Nick, while we've crossed paths so many times, Joe, I think we've just connected over calls and email. So it's wonderful to get an opportunity to speak to you. And I'm hoping through this episode, so many people learned so much about the two of you. And once again, on behalf of Humans of Telecom, I wish you both the very best. And I thank you for the time you took out for this podcast.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anurag. Really enjoyed it.
All right. And to our wonderful listeners, as always, thanks a lot for tuning into the show. We hope this episode gave you a good glimpse of the human side of Nick and Joe Lane, a fantastic couple who are working together as a team and complement each other in every facet of their lives, whether it's at family or it's in their career. We have one who is a golfer and a Star Wars lover, the other who has a creative side to her. A couple that is bringing out the best of each other, and something that they made very clear, that the best is yet to come. There are so many more dreams to be fulfilled. That for us are Nick and Joe Lane, and I wish them both the very best. More power to them. So, if you enjoyed today's episode, do stay tuned in, because we shall soon be releasing yet another episode and another compelling story from the telecom space. And do follow the podcast on your preferred streaming channel. On behalf of Humans of Telecom, this is your host Anurag Aggarwal signing off for now. Take care.